when we think about the place to meditate, we usually think of a place that we've meditated before and we've liked, or we think of finding a place that's new, and we think of staying right where we are, which is often the best choice. The right place is really very counterintuitive, and I'm going to speak from my own experience. As I mentioned in the first video, my first few years of meditation were in absolutely stunning places, quiet places, remote places, away from all sorts of ambient noise and busyness and people for the most part. But after a few years, when I moved back into society and the monastery, in the monastery, of course, is included in the quiet places. But when I left the monastery, I spent 1 year meditating in San Francisco in different places. Often in Golden Gate Park, which is quiet, but often in the cities too. The marina, under the bridge, and finding different places. When I went to India and Nepal is when I really found out the places that were most conducive for meditation. And one of the great experiences I had in this arena was recently, about 5 years ago now. I was meditating in this temple. It's in a complex, in the oldest section of Kathmandu called Naradevi. And it was a courtyard with a medicine Buddha in it where I enjoyed meditation. It was a very, very busy place with pilgrims going in and out all day long. And I sat on a stone slab from early in the morning, about 6 until about 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. I'd take a break and go down to the nearest chai stand a few hundred feet away and go back and meditate. This was a very, very busy place. My room was only a block and a half away from there, upstairs. And it had a very nice meditation temple room. But I chose to meditate right in the busyness of the temple compound itself. And there was a priest there, a temple priest. None of the people there ever meditated, except maybe in their rooms and so forth, but not out in the open like I was. So I did this for several months, and then one day I opened my eyes, and the priest was on the opposite end of the courtyard, sitting in full lotus, meditating also. Shortly afterwards, I was buying Ayurvedic herbs nearby, in a shop nearby, and the herbalist, he said, you're having a profound effect on the people here. They're starting to meditate in the temples and so forth. So that was in Nepal. when I lived in Dharamsala for 3 years, I used to meditate right in the heart of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's temple. That was really a busy place. And I was basically the only one that was meditating there. And I like being out with the people, and rather than sequestered in my room. And a yogi came up to me, who was my best friend, Yánxù, and he said to me one day there, he said, why don't you just meditate in your room? There you have the tea, you have the comfort of your room, you don't have all of these people, tourists from all over India coming to, around the temple, walking around where you are and stuff. And he had a room really close by, actually in the temple compound. Very few people do, but he was a great yogi, and he was also the one responsible for doing the wrathful deity practice every day at the Dalai Lama's temple in the morning and the evening to rid the temple of any evil spirits. So I continued for a couple of years in the temple. Even the abbot asked me one time how long I was going to do that. But I chose there even though I had a room about a 10-minute walk away. I've never regretted these decisions, because if you're in an environment that is a place where you'd be in your daily life when you're awake and doing things, there's no reason that environment shouldn't be suitable for when you're meditating, unless of course you're obstructing other people or you're very much out of place. But has never happened to me. I had never experienced that. Once I was meditating on a bench on Ocean Avenue opposite my father's place, overlooking the Pacific in a small stretch of a park. And I sat in meditation with all the tourists and whatever that walk by that spot. It's a busy place too. And I sat in meditation, became completely absorbed. When I ended my meditation, I had 5 homeless people sitting in lotus in front of me. I don't know how long they'd been there. And so I gave them a little teaching, and that was really great fun. The point is that if you connect with yourself, then you connect with everybody, and everybody's part of the environment. If you isolate yourself in meditation, then you're still going to have people. People are thoughts, and you'll have all your thoughts to deal with. And if you have an environment that's very much natural, you'll find that it actually helps find balance and equanimity in meditation practice. And that's really where it's at. And it's something that we all must learn, in that meditation is a very much natural state of mind. And when we think of it as a natural state of mind, because we all have the Buddha nature, in as much as it's a natural state of mind, we don't want to create an artificial environment. So as many people know, I stayed 6 months in a cave. I meditated in a cave. That was very pristine. But I can't say that it was as beneficial, certainly wasn't more beneficial than the crowded temple in Naradevi, the Medicine Buddha temple in Naradevi. Because when you're around an environment that's inherently distracting, and you might even feel self-conscious about what people might be looking at you and so forth, and they are looking at you, you're actually in a natural environment. And that is really where it's at. And who knows, you might influence somebody to think, well, if he can meditate there, certainly I can meditate in my home, and influence others to, strive for the better, to get to give meditation a chance, to realize it's a natural state of mind, that it's really about learning how to get out of your own way more than anything else. Nothing is imposed on the mind. So there's no such thing as knowing how to meditate. It's knowing how to get out of the way so you can be taught to realize what's already there, the enlightened state of mind that's already within. So to do that, we don't have to have a special place. And in fact, a special place may be very counterproductive to our efforts. So we all know that the uncontrived state of mind is what we're wishing will reveal itself to us in our meditation. So if we can have an uncontrived place of meditation and feel free to meditate anywhere, anytime, that's really most beneficial. And it's much like the nature of the mind itself, because when we meditate, we're not trying to have a special state. We're not trying to introduce a special state of awareness to our mind. We're trying to see that the awareness is there, and we're just not seeing it. So to do that, we don't want to introduce a special place, because it's just counterproductive to the whole effort. As we have, as our attitude is composed for our mind, it should be composed for our environment. So that means to sit in any reasonable place. Obviously, you don't sit on a pathway or a doorway. You sit someplace where you're not going to obstruct people, but just sit and have no excuses for not sitting. Who is it that's self-conscious? Who is it that's afraid of or offended by the noise? Who is it that feels discomfort? Who is it that's worrying about what other people think if we meditate where we are? If we understand that the personality is not who we are, and that we are unselfish and uncontrived, have no ego about meditating or not meditating, or being self-conscious for meditating, or being irritated by sounds and so forth. Whatever sounds we may hear and whatever distracts us does so because we're not engaged in our practice, in our meditation. So it's actually something we should be very thankful for, because it's not that the noise bothers us and we should leave the noise, but that we should transform the noise into focus, awakening, use it to strengthen our effort to detach from the noise inside. And if we do that, we'll fall into ourselves, we'll totally be absorbed into ourselves. And whether there's noise outside or not, we won't even know. And if we understand this, we'll get in a lot more hours of meditation because we won't have any excuses. We're not in our place, or there's no temple here, or I gotta wait to get home, and so forth. There's always a park bench. There's always some place where one can sit down and fold one's legs. I've meditated in so many construction sites when I was wandering here and there, and found a secluded place in a construction site. There's always some place. So if you don't have preferences as far as distractions go, then those places, meditation places, multiply dramatically, and one's own meditation time for meditation will increase, and our progress will increase tremendously. So that's what we should keep in mind and strive for, so that we can really get absorbed in our practice and not make excuses about place, time, and all of this stuff. It's just an illusion we don't need to get involved in.